A man called Akpan, who was a native of Oku, a town in the Ibibio country, admired a girl called Emma very much, and wished to marry her, as she was the finest girl in her company. It was the custom in those days for the parents of the girl to pay an amount of money as dowry for their daughters, so that if their marriage were to fail, and they could get on with their lives and be sold as slaves. 7 years had elapsed, and it became time for Emma to go to her husband. Emma's father saw a very fine girl who had also just came out of the fatting house and whose parents wished to sell as a slave. Emma's father therefore bought the slave and gave the slave to his daughter Emma to use as a handmaiden. The next day, Emma's little sister, being very anxious to go with her, obtained the consent of her mother, and they started off together. The slave girl carried the large bundle containing clothes and presents from Emma's father. Akpan's house was a long day's march from where they lived. When they arrived just outside the town, they came to a spring where the people used to get their drinking water from, but no one was allowed to bathe there. Emma, however, knew nothing of this, and the two sisters went into the water. The slave girl knew that there was an evil water juju in the water, and thought that if she could get her mistress to bathe, Emma would be taken by the juju, and she would then be able to take her place and marry Akpan. So they went down to the water to bathe, and when they were close to the water, the slave girl pushed her mistress in, and she disappeared at once. The little girl then began to cry, but the slave girl said,
"If you cry anymore, I'll push you into the hole with your sister."
The slave told the child that she must never mention what happened to anyone, and particularly not to Akpan, as she was going to represent her sister and marry him, and if she ever told anyone what she had seen, she would be killed at once. She then made the little girl carry the load to Akpan's house. When they arrived, Akpan was much disappointed at the slave girl's appearance, but since he had not seen Emma for 7 years, he had no suspicion that the slave was not really Emma. The slave girl was then for some time very cruel to Emma's little. She beat her every day, always made her carry the largest water pot to the spring, and made the child place her finger in the fire to use as firewood. When Akpan asked her why she treated the child so badly, she replied that she was a slave that her father bought for her. When the little girl took the heavy pot to the river, there was no one there to lift it up for her, and she could not get it onto her head. She then started calling for her sister Emma to come help her. When Emma heard her little sister crying, she begged the water juju to allow her to go help her, promising she will return immediately. When the little girl saw her sister, she did not want to leave her, and asked to be allowed to go into the hole with her. She then told Emma how very badly she had been treated by the slave girl, and the elder sister told her to have patience and wait. That day of revenge would soon arrive. The little girl went back to Akpan's house with a glad heart as she had seen her sister, but when she got to the house, the slave girl said,
"Mom, get in the water,"
and took a stick from the fire and burnt the girl. This went on for some time until one day when the child went to the river for water, she cried out for her sister as usual, but she did not come, as the water juju told Emma that she must not go. But the little girl went on crying bitterly. Emma at last persuaded the juju to let her go, promising to return quickly. When Emma emerged from the water, she looked very beautiful, with rays of setting sun shining on her glistening body. She helped her sister with the water pot and then disappeared into the hole again. Akpan happened to be by the river that day. He glanced over his shoulder and saw the back of a beautiful woman standing in the water. It reminded him of someone that he knew. Akpan then made up his mind to go out and see what happened, so early in the morning he went down to the river and hid in the forest near the watering hole. When Akpan saw Emma, he recognized her at once, and went home and considered how he could get her out of the power of the water juju. He went to an old woman who frequently made sacrifices to water juju, and consulted her what was best to do. A sacrifice was made to bring Emma back by slitting the throat of a white slave. The old woman also provided to the sacrifice by throwing in a white cloth, an egg, and cutting up a chicken. The next morning at dawn, Akpan had found Emma standing at the side of the spring and told her that she was his rightful husband and that he was going to take her home. He took Emma back to his house and hid her in his room, and sent word to Emma's sister to take care of the slave woman who knew nothing about the matter. The little girl followed Akpan's rules and went to annoy the slave woman to lure her to where Akpan and Emma were.
You know that you're a wicked woman and you treated me badly. I know that you're my sister's slave and you will be punished.
She then ran as hard as she could to Akpan and Emma's location. The slave woman heard what the girl said and seized a burning stick from the fire and ran after the child. But the girl got to the house first and ran inside. The slave woman followed close upon her heels with the burning stick in hand. Then Emma came out to confront the slave woman, and she recognized her mistress at once, who she thought she had killed, so she stood quite still. They all went back to Akpan's house, and when they arrived there, Akpan asked the slave woman what she meant by pretending that she was Emma, and why she had tried to kill her. But seeing she found out, the slave woman had nothing to say. After this, Emma treated the slave girl the same way she had treated her little sister. She made her put her fingers in the fire. She also made her beat Fufu with her head against a tree, and after a time she was tied up to a tree and starved to death. Ever since that time, when a man marries a girl, he is always present when she comes out to the fanning house and takes her home himself, so that such evil things that has happened to Emma and her sister may not occur again.
Be like, I'm Emma! I want to get a cool camera angle. Well, you're searching for you guys out. They knew we were going to the lake. What?
Gotta keep an eye for Celine.
Okay, hello, Matthew Bloom. Okay.